Well, the good news for the Democrats is that they have this amazing slate of candidates to back up Joe Biden should things go south, should they decide that Joe Biden has had it, that there ain't much happening upstairs, that he's really unpopular anyway, and it's time for some fresh blood. But can we just note how old that guy is? I mean, I know. But put it in perspective. Joe Biden will be 82 if he runs for re-election, which means he would be 86 years old by the time he finished his second term. 86 years old. That's nuts. I mean, that's truly insane. We need a younger set of candidates. By the way, this happens to be true on the right as well. I know there are a lot of folks out there who love Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, Donald Trump right now, he will be aged 79 if he runs for president again. Can we have non-octogenarians run for president like at any point? In the Democratic Party, the answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because their bench, it looks like a little league second slate bench. I mean, it doesn't even look like the kids who have played occasionally some baseball. It looks like the kids who have never played baseball, and we got to get them in the game a little bit just so that their parents are not super unhappy with you. That looks like the Democrats' second slate here. So you've got VP Kamala Harris, the most untalented politician of her generation, bar none, an intersectional candidate par excellence, whose only criteria for being vice president of the United States is that she was a black woman, because it clearly ain't talent. Here as an example, you can pick any random clip of Kamala Harris, just like any random clip of Joe Biden now sounds as though the man has hit his head. Every clip of Kamala Harris is just a clip of her being awkward, because there are no clips of her not being awkward, because she's the most awkward human being. She's Michael Scott of politics without any of the charm or redeeming character qualities. Here's Kamala Harris yesterday talking about Joe Biden's vision. She says, we wouldn't be here celebrating gun control without Joe Biden's vision. Well, Joe Biden can hardly see because of the cataracts, but here's Kamala Harris.
In the face of so much pessimism, you passed a bipartisan law. You worked across the aisle. And the product of that work will make our communities safer. But as all of us know, gathered here today, we would not be here were it not for the vision, the courage, the unwavering determination of one particular individual, Joe Biden.
Oh, the simpering, the horrible small smile, the nodding. She's so bad at this. So you can have her, guys. You want Kamala? All you. Go for it. Or maybe it'll be Pete Buttigieg. So everybody on the left was celebrating Pete Buttigieg going on Fox News and saying it's okay to harass people at restaurants now if you disagree with them, which I feel like is going to work out real badly for the Secretary of Transportation, who has done zero things to alleviate the massive supply chain crisis that we have seen here in the United States. He is one of the most smarmy, irritating politicians in America right now, Pete Buttigieg. And not only that, he happens to be a bureaucratic tyrant. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Federal Highway Administration, which is under the auspices of the Secretary of Transportation, wants to take abuse of authority on the road. It cites an obscure provision in federal law that authorizes it to set national performance goals for the national highway system. The law defines these goals as safety, infrastructure condition, congestion reduction, system reliability, freight movement, and economic vitality. Environmental sustainability and reduced project delivery delays. FHWA says this environmental sustainability language allows it to now regulate carbon emissions. This is what Buttigieg says. He now wants to use federal regulations governing how the highways are built in order to regulate cars on their carbon emissions in the middle of an energy crisis. It's not clear how states would even comply with the rules being proposed by Buttigieg. The FHWA claims states will have flexibility in setting CO2 reduction targets. In the same breath, declares they must align with the administration's goals to reduce emissions. The proposed rule says states will be required to establish declining targets for reductions in tailpipe carbon emissions on the national highway system. Even progressives have to doubt that Buttigieg has the power he's claiming. Buttigieg is running roughshod over the Constitution's separation of power. Like, what about Pete Buttigieg makes him such a wonderful, attractive candidate? Again, he got skunked by Joe Biden in these primaries. And if one of the major problems for the Democratic Party is that no one in the Democratic Party can replicate Barack Obama's numbers with black voters, you think Pete Buttigieg is going to do that? Is that which way you're going here? Okay, so maybe Gavin Newsom, right? The thing about Gavin Newsom, too, I mean, he'd be great. There's only one problem. Gavin Newsom is a genderless, androgynous Ken doll of a human. He's done a horrible job in California. California has one of the worst unemployment rates in the country. It's had the slowest recovery in America, pretty much. It is still talking about locking down. They're still talking about new masking rules in LA. given the BA.5 variant of coronavirus, despite the fact that coronavirus is basically killing no one at this point in the United States. The number of Americans who died yesterday of COVID is something like 350. There was a point in this country where it was like 4,000 people a day. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom is jet-setting off to places where no one else is supposed to travel because they're supposedly anti-gay and terrible. Governor Newsom, according to the New York Post, hates Montana's supposedly anti-LGBTQ plus minus divided by a sign, exclamation point ampersand laws so much. He's banned all state-funded travel there, but not so much to shun the red state himself. He just traveled there for vacation. Of course, this particular double standard, my security detail and I can visit Montana, but other state workers can't, isn't Newsom's first. He feasted in a Michelin star restaurant during the pandemic, maskless, of course, while banning indoor dining for everyone else. He enrolled his kids in private, in-person school while the public schools had to remain shut. And Newsom ain't going to be it. And now they're thinking about J.B. Pritzker? And again, Pritzker's Illinois. Is that how you want America to be governed? If you have a choice between California and Florida, or California and Illinois and Florida, the answer is going to be Florida, is it not? There's a reason why the patter of feet is from Illinois to Florida, from California to Florida. Gavin Newsom ran an ad in Florida telling people to come back. No chance of that. Try again, sucker. Got out while the getting is good. I've been urging people to leave ever since. And so this has left the media with the unenviable task of trying to figure out how to jog the Democratic base into excitement. And so they're just making things up now. So the New York Times has a piece titled, "States with Abortion Bans Risk Losing Their Economic Edge." So the idea is that even though the states that have been holding up the economic growth of the United States, namely the southern states, the red states, which reopened earlier and kept people at work longer and didn't kill all of their small businesses, even though those states are the highest growth states in America, now, according to the New York Times, the states that really are going to be the economic boom towns are the states that allow abortion on demand. The New York Times' Alexander Burns, it says, as a group of conservative states enacted severe abortion restrictions last year, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois sent letters to a handful of corporate executives with close ties to Texas. Pritzker, a Democrat, urged executives to rethink basing their companies in a state that strips its residents of their dignity. Most workers, he wrote, did not want to live under a rigid abortion ban. There was no immediate response to his overture. Companies thriving in Texas's freewheeling business environment were not about to flee because of legally contested abortion regulations that were not certain to be enforced. 10 months later, the political and legal landscape is radically different, and a Supreme Court decision that abolished the right to abortion is now threatening to reshape the lines of economic competition between conservative and liberal states. Some of the country's biggest businesses like JP Morgan Chase, AT&T, and Walt Disney have already announced they would take steps to help employees who need abortion access but can't obtain it in their home states. There have not yet been major announcements about companies canceling expansions or relocating offices out of jurisdictions where abortion is now banned. Yeah, because it ain't going to happen. Because those businesses are not going to bankrupt themselves because the New York Times wants them to promote abortion law. That's not going to happen. And again, the entire Democratic case right now is based on, there has to be a backlash, right? There has to be a pro-choice backlash. It has to be about guns. It has to be about saving democracy. It has to be about, no. Nope, you guys are in trouble. No matter how much you protest, you guys are in trouble because you've done a crappy job on the governance and your policies are bad and you have no candidates who are capable of speaking directly to the American people. You're in a world of hurt. I know what you're thinking. It's time to binge some more Ben Shapiro videos. Well, you are right. You should. But first, like and subscribe. Perfect. I'll see you in the next video.